My sister got pregnant and had my husband's baby, planning to leave me with both of them while I was away for work for 9 months. I would have never known if I hadn't returned home to surprise him and caught him coming back with a baby in tow. But now that all this chaos is over, my sister expects me to pretend we're a happy family just because we share DNA, and my husband doesn't want anything to do with her either. XME's own sister gave birth to my husband's baby, and for 9 agonizing months, they meticulously planned to walk away from me, leaving me with nothing but a shattered life. I only found out when I returned home to surprise him, and he was standing there, holding their child. The afternoon sun, warm and inviting, bathed the familiar street in a golden glow as I pulled up to what used to be our house. My heart, full of anticipation, thumped a happy rhythm. But as my car idled, a strange, chilling quiet settled over the porch, a quiet that felt profoundly wrong. Then I saw him, my husband, David, standing there, and what he held in his arms ripped my world apart. For the past year and 4 months, my life had been a whirlwind of airport terminals and hotel rooms. My job as a project manager meant I was constantly abroad, overseeing crucial deals, pushing boundaries. Coming home wasn't a luxury I often had, and when I did, it was usually for a fleeting 3 or 4 days. My family, my parents, Martha and Richard, and my older sister, Chloe, they understood. Or so I thought. In truth, I wasn't especially close with them anyway, and eventually, I stopped trying to squeeze in visits, focusing all my precious time on David. We still talked, of course. Occasional calls, a few FaceTimes here and there. Normal, right? Absolutely nothing that would suggest a seismic shift was happening in my absence. My grand return was supposed to be a surprise. My project was finally winding down, and I was coming back for good at the end of the month. I couldn't wait to tell David, to see the joy on his face. So, last weekend, I decided to make an unexpected trip, planning to spring the news on him in person. I pictured his smile, our reunion, the beginning of our real life again. Instead, I saw him on our porch, with a baby. My breath hitched, a cold knot forming in my stomach. What was happening? My mind raced, trying to find any logical explanation, but none came. As I pulled into the driveway, David's head snapped up. His eyes, usually so warm and welcoming, were wide with terror. He dropped the baby carrier, just a little, catching it awkwardly, and stumbled forward. He started to stutter, a frantic string of meaningless sounds about how he hadn't expected me. "David," I managed, my voice a thin whisper, then firmer, "whose baby is that?" He looked like a cornered animal, eyes darting, mouth opening and closing. "Sarah, please don't freak out." But it was too late. I was already freaking out. My world felt like it was tilting on its axis. A baby. In our house. With my husband. After what felt like an eternity, but was probably only a few seconds, I cut him off. "Just tell me. Now." And he did. His voice barely audible, he confessed. It was his baby. And the mother? My sister, Chloe. The words hit me like a physical blow. I froze. My brain simply couldn't process it. This had to be a joke, a sick, twisted prank. But he just stood there, silent, his face a mask of guilt and shame. This was real. This was happening. The absurdity of it all was so profound, I didn't know whether to laugh or scream. Eventually, I found my voice again, calm in a way that scared even myself. "How?" I asked, the single word dripping with disbelief. How on earth could this happen? He launched into his story, a pathetic tale of loneliness and vulnerability. He'd been so sad, so depressed without me. Chloe, conveniently, was going through a breakup. Their offices were close. He asked her to lunch, just once, because he missed me so much. One lunch turned into more. They bonded. They connected. And then, one night, it happened. A one-time thing, he swore, a huge mistake, fueled by loneliness and shared misery. They felt so guilty, he insisted, they decided to pretend it never happened. Except, a few weeks later, Chloe called him. She was pregnant. She wasn't going to terminate, citing moral objections. The irony of her morals after sleeping with her sister's husband was almost comical if I hadn't been so utterly devastated. She just wouldn't raise the baby alone. So, David went along with it. My entire family knew. My parents, Martha and Richard, had known the entire time. For 9 months, while I was out there building a future, working myself to the bone, they had been hiding this monstrous secret from me. Not a single phone call, not a single text, not a single hint. My sister gave birth 6 weeks ago. 6 weeks ago. And I, her sister, her family, had no idea. When David finished his grotesque confession, he started groveling, apologizing, promising it was a mistake, that he'd fix it. They'd put the baby up for adoption. He'd cut Chloe out of his life. I would never have to see or hear about any of it again. But none of it mattered. The words floated past me, meaningless. I was reeling, utterly broken. There was no going back. Without a word, I turned, got back into my car, and drove. I didn't know where I was going, just that it had to be away from him, away from that house. Eventually, my fury directed me to my parents' place. And of course, Chloe was there. The air in their living room was thick with unspoken truths and suffocating guilt. My parents shifted uncomfortably, their faces etched with a pathetic mix of fear and shame. They knew. They all knew I had found out. Before I could even speak, Chloe launched into her own damage control. She was planning to take a job out of state, she explained, leaving us all behind. I wouldn't have to worry about her being a problem for me and David anymore. It was just a mistake, a one-time thing. The baby would be taken care of, she vaguely assured me. I guess she and David were on the same page about adoption then, I thought, a bitter taste in my mouth. A mistake? My sister, my own flesh and blood, thought this entire monumental betrayal was just a mistake. They saw the baby as the problem, not the fact that my husband had cheated on me with her. The baby was just the consequence, the proof. The real wound was the affair itself. I ignored Chloe completely. My gaze, burning with rage, fixed on Martha and Richard. How could you? I yelled, my voice cracking. How could you all betray me like this? Hiding it, covering it up, that's just as bad as lying. You let them do this to me. They stammered, offering weak excuses about not knowing if it was their place to say anything. A lame, pathetic excuse I didn't even bother to entertain. I told them, through hot, angry tears, that they had all let me down. I wanted nothing to do with any of them. Then I walked out, leaving their stunned silence behind. I didn't go back to the house. I couldn't. I blocked David everywhere, his number, his email, all his social media. Then I found a nearby hotel and checked in. My project was almost over, but I wasn't waiting. I booked the first flight back to work the next evening. I'd considered going straight for a lawyer, filing for divorce right then, but decided to wait until I was home for good. Better to handle the legal mess when I wasn't trying to manage a demanding job from thousands of miles away. The audacity of them. David and Chloe both began a relentless campaign to contact me. Desperate doesn't even begin to cover it. They created new email addresses, new social media accounts, used different numbers. Every single message was some variation of, "Please forgive me, it was a mistake, come home." But through their frantic, overlapping pleas, a disturbing truth emerged about the baby. David was still pushing for adoption. He wanted nothing to do with Chloe or the child. Chloe, however, had a different plan. When she said the baby would be taken care of, she hadn't meant adoption by strangers. No. She fully expected David and me to adopt her baby, her providing child support, while she skipped off to her new job, her life unburdened. She was even using our shared blood and DNA as leverage, telling me it would be wrong to let go of her child. The sheer delusion was staggering. And then there were my parents. As if David and Chloe weren't enough, Martha and Richard started their own campaign. They tried to guilt-trip me, saying it was just a mistake, that Chloe was miserable, that if I didn't come back to David and raise this baby with him, the baby would suffer. My husband wouldn't agree to adoption unless I came back. They kept telling me how much they understood my pain, but if they truly understood, they wouldn't be asking me to adopt my sister's baby with my cheating husband. I'd seen the baby. He was adorable, like all babies are. But he was also living proof of a betrayal that had ripped apart my 8-year relationship and 4-year marriage. He was the consequence of David throwing away everything for a few months of loneliness. I couldn't raise him. I couldn't pretend to be his mother just because Chloe wanted to have her cake and eat it too. Shared DNA didn't mean I had to share my husband with her. For a while, their relentless pressure made me feel strangely guilty. But I knew deep down I shouldn't. Weeks turned into months. I stayed away, immersed myself in work, but the constant barrage of messages was a relentless assault. My parents and Chloe eventually limited themselves to long, pleading texts every other day. They seemed to be getting the hint. David, though? His desperation was boundless. Non-stop, hourly texts from an endless stream of new accounts and numbers. He still believed he could talk me into coming back, into forgiving him, into raising their child. His messages were full of self-blame, empty promises of making me the happiest woman on earth, swears that he'd never mess up again. But it was too late. He had messed up. Beyond repair. I wasn't giving him a second chance to shatter my life again. His delusion was almost pitiable, but it didn't change my resolve. I was done. Back home, finally, after my project officially wrapped. The work had been a welcome distraction. Now, with the quiet of my own city pressing in, the full weight of everything crashed down. I'd already been speaking with a divorce attorney. The petition was ready. Within 2 days, it would be filed. I made it simple. I'd keep the house and the car. No alimony. I wanted it fast, clean. No prolonged legal battles, just an escape. The impact hit me hard. Being so close, yet so irrevocably separate from the people who had once been my world. It hurt more than I cared to admit. Shame, humiliation, those emotions lingered, even though I was the wronged party. It felt like my failure, my broken life. I couldn't bring myself to tell anyone face to face. So, I decided on a public declaration. The next morning, the divorce petition filed, I ripped off the Band-Aid. I made an announcement on social media. After a long relationship and marriage, David and I were divorcing due to his infidelity. I kept it brief, devoid of dramatic details. That wasn't what I wanted. I just wanted it out. David's texts, already over 600 unread, doubled within an hour. But I stopped checking them days ago. It was pointless. He'd just find another way. Instead, a different kind of message flooded my inbox: support. Friends, coworkers, even old acquaintances I hadn't spoken to in years. It was overwhelming, a lifeline I hadn't realized I needed. Their kindness, their love, was a stark contrast to the betrayal of my own family. It wouldn't make the divorce any easier emotionally, but at least I wouldn't be alone. A few weeks later, the texts from David finally stopped. A profound silence. He responded to the petition. He wouldn't contest it. He agreed to all my terms. A wave of relief washed over me. I wanted this chapter closed cleanly. As for Chloe and my parents, I'd maintained complete radio silence. Their last messages were still about trying to manipulate me into coming back, so Chloe wouldn't have to deal with the adoption process. But now, with David agreeing to the divorce and refusing custody, Chloe had no choice. The baby would be put up for adoption. I heard through the grapevine that Chloe had initially approached every family member, asking if they would raise her child. Most said no. Many had already connected the dots, realizing David was the father. It was sad for the baby. I genuinely hoped he found a wonderful family, a fresh start, far from this toxic mess. Months passed. Last week, the divorce was finalized. It was done. David sent one final email. A lengthy apology, recounting his shame, hoping I could forgive him, hoping we might meet again someday. I cringed. All feelings for him had evaporated during the divorce process, replaced by a cold clarity. The man I loved was gone, replaced by a stranger capable of monstrous betrayal. It wasn't just the affair, it was the partner he chose, my own sister. The family who stood by and watched it happen. That was the deepest cut. Looking back, I regret the years, the energy, the love I poured into people who proved themselves utterly unworthy. But I am here now, stronger, wiser, and finally free. This isn't just my story, it's a testament to surviving the unimaginable. The most unexpected twist came from a distant family member. Chloe, it turned out, couldn't go through with the adoption. She decided to keep the baby. And she moved out of state to raise him on her own. I truly hope it's true. Good for her. Good for the baby. Now, with a substantial amount of money saved from my career and the clarity that comes from starting over, I'm planning a long, luxurious vacation. I've invited a few friends, and some have already agreed. I deserve this. I deserve to live, to laugh, to make the most of my life. I'm curious, what would you have done in my shoes? How would you have navigated such a profound betrayal? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you've ever faced a situation where you had to choose yourself, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories of resilience.